Welcome to Eye on Innovation, brought to you by the OIS podcast. We're here at the OIS conference in San Diego, and this is the place to be if you're looking for a crash course on the latest and greatest innovations in eye care. I am Carey Powers, your host. I'm going to take you behind the scenes to talk to innovators on the leading edge. Today, we are delighted to feature the C2020 Innovation Hub at McMaster University. The organization partners with private sector companies and academic teams to develop and commercialize novel pharmaceutical products for ophthalmology. So meet Dr. Francis Lasowski, C2020's executive director, a chemical engineer with biomaterials and drug delivery expertise. Dr. Lasowski leads product development at Innovation Hub. Welcome, Dr. Lasowski.
Thank you so much, Carey.
And with her today is one of C2020 Innovation Hub's partners, Dr. Wendy Naimark, Chief Technology Officer at Ripple Technologies. Ripple is founded on a discovery that drugs can be designed to deliver themselves without the need for polymers. So welcome, Dr. Naimark.
Thank you. Right to me, go. Okay.
So Dr. Lasowski, can you tell us a little bit more about how C2020 Innovation Hub supports ophthalmic companies of all sizes to achieve their development goals?
So the Innovation Hub consists of 13 investigators that span everything from material synthesis, polymerization, characterization, all the way through to preclinical development. So we really can be a one-stop shop for a lot of that developmental work, the early stage work that companies need to do, either on some of their lead compounds or on their pipeline products. And our goal is to assist those companies in achieving that with this world-renowned expertise through the different investigators where we partner seamlessly with them. One of the other things that we're able to do is support them through securing some non-dilutive funding. So we are able to utilize some of the grants available through the Canadian government and other sources to create those academic partnerships or academic industrial partnerships.
Very good. Wendy, can you share some of your thoughts on how your partnership with the C2020 Innovation Hub has contributed to Ripple's success?
Sure, happy to. So when we made the discovery of how you can take a drug and engineer it to make it into a self-standing, drug-eluting implant, we partnered with C2020 right off the start. So we've been together about 8 years now. And so our first discoveries that led us to be able to go to the next level with our board and funding came from the work we've done together. Our first major publication in Nature Communications, all based on the work we've done together. So it's been a great ride, and we continue to do it. And to Fran's point, we've been able to successfully work together with grants from the Canadian government that have been important to keep the work going. And you know, what I heard out of Fran is very much true. Not only are they a very technically capable, scientifically sound group, but they're very resourceful. So it's been really important for us as we've built into now a great place for Ripple. We've just had announcements of important partnerships now with AbbVie and also with Glaukos, and so a lot of that stems from our Canadian roots and our ability to do this early stage work with C2020.
Congratulations, that's very exciting.
Yes.
So how did you find each other? How did you find the innovation?
I was thinking about that. Do you remember how that started?
I think it goes back to some of the, and I think also some of the connections with Paul Santerre and Heather. One of the great things about the Innovation Hub is we've been successful at securing a lot of great equipment through the support of the Canadian government. And so we really have state-of-the-art ocular imaging capabilities that, quite frankly, are second to none. We have anything an ophthalmologist can do to a person, we can do to a mouse, rat, or a rabbit. So I think that people through the network have known about that capability, and I think put us in touch to try to support that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So Wendy, can you think of any examples of an element of your journey that would have been more difficult had you not been partnered with Innovation Hub?
Absolutely. I think from the get-go, not only the expertise, but one of the things that makes it a challenge, particularly with an organization still within an academic institution, is IP. And so, there are universities where you spend a year just trying to get a contract together, but because of the dedication at McMaster and through C2020 to it's your IP sponsor, you keep that. We're here really to do the work to get you to the next level. So that created a very seamless way to work together and to do that quickly, and it's been a really important part of how we got going.
Francis, tell us more about your startup company, 2020 Optimized Technologies, which actually comes out of the Innovation Hub.
So in addition to the work that we can do with other academics or other industry partners, we do a lot of internal development as well, creating drug delivery systems, novel biomaterials, contact lens work. And 2020 Optimize is the first spin out from the C2020 Innovation Hub, commercializing our mucoadhesive nanoparticle technology. So here at OIS, myself, Renaud Jacquemart, our COO, who's in charge of doing most of our manufacturing work, and Heather Sheardown, who is both the scientific director of the C2020 Innovation Hub and our CSO, are joining us at the OIS meeting, in particular to stay on top of what's happening in the space, but also to look for partnerships. Our technology in particular binds to mucosal surfaces, and this lets us enhance therapeutics. So while we don't do drug discovery ourselves, we're always looking for companies that have the next best drug on how we can help with their topical administration.
Wow, well, you are certainly in the right place, and you just look around the room today, so fantastic. That's very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And finally, looking ahead, what are the Innovation Hub's key goals for 2025?
So the Innovation Hub, the team behind the Innovation Hub was recently recognized with a national award in Canada called the Brockhouse Award for Team Development. So we were certainly very proud of that, and I think this year we're looking to increase our awareness to people and really try to help more companies like Ripple so that we can really accelerate the development. It's been a tough slog in the biotech space the last couple of years, and funding is really tight. And so we're looking to create these new partnerships to help companies really get through part of that valley of death, either through non-dilutive funding or with the studies that we can help facilitate in the development work that we can do.
Very good, and that valley of death is a nod to the theme for this morning's startup boot camp. So for our viewers or listeners at home that weren't a part of that, so.
Well, and we've experienced it on both sides, so we're happy to try to support the best we can.
Very good. Wendy, what's ahead for the partnership between the Innovation
Well,
Hub and
in not less than a month, we're going to be starting our first experiments that are based on dry AMD, and we're building our pipeline into a new space. So we're very excited, and we'll be back at it very soon.
Wonderful. Well, we'll be following along and rooting for you here at OIS. My guest now is Tracy Valorie, a luminary in our industry with 30 years of experience in biotech and pharmaceuticals. She's the former general manager of the pharmaceutical and surgical businesses of Bausch & Lomb, former commercial lead of ophthalmology for Pfizer, and sits on the boards currently of multiple companies, including Polyactiva, Samsara Vision, and Visus Therapeutics. Tracy provides strategic business consulting services to the pharmaceutical and biotech industries. So welcome to the OIS podcast, Tracy.
Thanks, Carey. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So in this morning's new Startup Bootcamp session, which is brand new this year, Tracy led a session called Trials, Tribulations, and Triumph, Navigating the Path to Market. So we're going to dive into some of the topics that came up there this morning. So it was a really fantastic interactive session. We covered a really wide range of topics. So one of the topics that was addressed was timing. How early is too early to really invest in a commercial strategy?
So that's a wide topic to tackle, but I think that was one of the points of this morning's discussion, really, is how to think about a commercial strategy as you develop a product to come to market. And as early as your angel investing, as early as your IP strategy starts to get in place, that's the time to think about how you want to drive value over the time you develop a product at each stage of that development. We talked about specifically intellectual property. Everyone knows before you start a project, that's a baseline. You have to have your ideas protected. But that's also a commercial strategy in how you actually can come to market or maneuver within your competitive landscape. So thinking about commercial strategy starts at the very beginning. And that actually was validated in a session after the one we talked about that we did this morning with two investors talking about even angel investors are sophisticated enough to say, how are you going to think about moving this product into the marketplace, even if it's 15 years from now, because it can take that long from the perspective of someone starting maybe at an angel investment. People are asking those questions early.
I think one of the things that also came up that I encounter all the time is, why do I need a commercial strategy? I'm going to be selling off this asset. I'm not going to launch this myself. So what's your answer to those startup founders who come to you with that response?
And I always think it is absolutely fantastic to have that entrepreneurial spirit, that you have the best thing to solve the latest problem in the marketplace, but you have to work within reality that many times is a long journey to get to. And so again, thinking about how you continue to add value over the process means thinking from a commercial perspective. What is my market? How big is it? What is that competitive landscape? Who do I need to watch? Is there a set regulatory pathway already, or do I have to create my own? Do I have to do a different type of negotiation with the FDA? What does that look like? What does that turn into from the perspective of a clinical study that I'm going to take to market, take to phase 3, which ultimately will become my label? How do I think about that? So all of these elements are commercial in mind, even though they're not a sales and marketing in the true sense that people think about a commercial strategy. So it's really about developing value, but thinking with your end in mind at the beginning, middle, and end stage of your program.
I think that you bring up such a really good point about the definition of a commercial strategy, because I think that so many people jump to, oh, that means selling it, scaling up for, with a sales force and a marketing team, and it starts so much sooner than that. So
having a commercial voice in your company early is really important, just to keep your mindset in that framework. It doesn't mean you have to have a chief commercial officer at the very beginning, but it would be always good to have someone to partner with and to talk to about what it means to have a commercial mindset moving forward.
Absolutely, I agree. So, of course, a key consideration, and this did come up this morning, in any commercial topic as it relates to startups like this, is who's going to pay for it, right? So the reimbursement, and what you pointed out this morning, is really an access issue for patients. So talk to us about those two different paths that you talked about this morning in that session.
So you are correct that the biggest challenge you will get from an investor is who is ultimately going to pay for this. How are you confident that you can actually have a market? And as we all know, access, and I refer to it more as an access issue than a pricing and reimbursement. It's really about how you get these products into the hands of the patients who need them the most and who they're designed for. So how does that actually happen? You have to understand your landscape, again, starting from the beginning. Is there a pathway that exists for your program? If there is that the best pathway for you to undertake? If not, what would be a better pathway to take? And understanding what that is so you can articulate that in your conversations with investors or potential strategic partners is always important. And it doesn't take a lot to get that information. There are plenty of resources available both in the public domain and by just calling a few people at maybe a consultant firm or even a law firm that can give you some really good feedback, baseline information, so that you understand where the landscape that you're living in. So I always encourage people to use your network to find those resources, because I do appreciate too that startups have limited resources. They're dedicated towards moving the programs through the technical aspects. So there's not always the resources to do market research on anything really, but particularly market access. But there are ways to go about getting your landscape laid down that really are very cost efficient.
Perfect segue, because what I want to talk about next is market research. So this is something that comes up a lot, and I know that startups are working on really lean budgets, and they're often hesitant to invest in primary market research. So maybe share with us what you have seen in terms of the value of credible, high quality market research.
And I would like to re-emphasize your point of high quality, right? Because we all know any type of research, how you develop the research is as important as the result, right? Because it is a garbage in, garbage out kind of mentality here. I think that companies should find someone who understands how to develop market research questionnaires to answer the questions that you're looking for. And again, this doesn't have to be a $500,000 boil the ocean, understand every piece that's going on. As the programs develop from their infant state through to their maturity, from maybe a preclinical all the way through to a full development program, your questions will change. It becomes a living, breathing evolution of your market, of your understanding of your product. But it's good to have a pulse on your customer. So you can do qualitative or quantitative research, but you really should work with someone who understands how to ask the question, right? And so there's lots of ways to do that. And actually it was great this morning in the session, people were actually offering solutions to each other in the audience, which I thought was really amazing, because people have seen the value once they do it of being able to say, well, this is what my ultimate customer wants. I'm going to create the opportunity for myself and my company to satisfy that need. And it's all been maybe small, minor tweaks, or simply validation that you're doing the right thing.
I loved the tip that was provided in the session this morning. I think it came from the CEO of Alkeus.
Yes.
And what he shared, which I thought was really brilliant, was he was able to integrate some market research questions into his investigator survey.
Yep.
And so I just thought that was really brilliant. Talk about like a really nice pre-survey to help inform maybe a broader survey later, or some qualitative research. So I thought that was really great. So
any opportunity you have to talk to your customer base, use it, right? And that was really a very creative, essentially it's zero cost to him to be able to do that. And he was able to survey several hundred physicians in a very short period of time, which I thought was actually pretty brilliant.
Yeah, love it. So Tracy, you've worked with a lot of different startups over the years. So I think there's just so much to gain from trials and tribulations and mistakes that are made. So what are some examples of where you have seen on the commercial strategy front, or the lack thereof, really lead a company down the wrong path?
One of the things we talked about it this morning that I noticed and have noticed historically from way back from when I was at Pfizer through my time at B&L and even now is the fact that people spend so much time focusing on a few patients in their clinical trials and touting the efficacy and safety that they're generating. They forget that they actually have to produce this product at some point. If people really do look for CMC, manufacturing, understanding how you are actually going to be able to put devices on shelves, bottles on shelves for doctors to use, for pharmacists to dispense. Without that understanding, you really limit some of your potential. And I've seen it. I've seen deals get pretty close to finished where the manufacturing leads from a strategic will come in and say, actually, your launch isn't in 2 years, your launch is in 5 years, because you won't be able to scale this in the period of time you've set. That changes the structure of the deal, and in one instance, it killed the deal. It killed the deal in that moment, and it was really heartbreaking for everyone. but it's something to focus on. And not everybody realizes that your manufacturing readiness is so much a part of your commercial readiness.
I think that speaks again to the importance of having a commercial voice all along the way, sitting as a member of that core team who are there, because there are a lot of micro decisions that are made along the way, and to have that commercial, person raise their hand and say, "Hey, have you thought about this? Really, you want to go down that path?" Because there's a lot of insights that we have from other launches from days gone by that we don't want to repeat. So
exactly, there's a lot of history to look back on and lessons learned, and I think too people are willing to share some of their watchouts, and so it's good again to reach out to your network and talk to people about what works and that doesn't work, but having a commercial voice nearby is really essential.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us on the OIS podcast. For listeners and viewers at home, thank you for tuning in to High on Innovation. And we have more episodes coming right here from the OIS conference, so we look forward to having you again soon. Thank you.